Hey guys, welcome to Marriage Monday. I'm Rubio, and today is the day that I answer your questions to help you have a happy and healthy marriage. And today's question comes from QT Ada. She says, "Great video, Lily. Can you please talk about how to support one's husband? I want to support and encourage my husband, but sometimes I feel it's very hard when he tells me his problems because even if I try, he will counter my encouragement with and be very negative. I get very weary and I feel like I can't carry his burden. I'm very optimistic and dealing with negative energy makes me weary and I can't handle it. I want to be there for him, but I feel like I can't sometimes. How can I? I just finished putting my husband through 8 years of medical school and residency, and supportive wife was my middle name. It was not an easy time at all, you guys, and unfortunately our husbands carry stress differently than we do. A lot of times they tend to shut down, kind of go into a nothing box. They may become useless around the house, just veg in front of the TV, and kind of check out during this time. So today I'm going to share a few tips on what you can do to be supportive without bringing yourself down. Tip number 1, serve and sacrifice. You guys, during this time of putting your husband through school, through a hard time, you have to remember that your role is to just be there. Serve him dinner right when he comes home. Do little touches like have his towel waiting for him next to the shower. Offer him a foot rub. It's a time to serve and not think about yourself. And I know that it's hard because they're so depleted, so they're not really giving you much to work with. But during this time, you guys, if you can just look at him as a human being who is going through a hard time and you just need to be there for him, it's just a mindset. Serve and sacrifice. My day will come. Now that all this stuff is behind us, I can kick my feet up and reap all of the rewards of being supportive all these years. Tip number 2, encourage your husband to go and do something for himself. Guys aren't really like girls. They're not like, hey, I need a guy's night, let's go out. You know, some guys are, but for the most part, my husband isn't. A lot of my friends' husbands, they're not just like gonna have a guy's night all the time. So encourage your husband to do something for himself. What's an old hobby he used to love? Maybe you can plan that for him. Say, hey, I made an appointment for you to go play golf today. Like whatever it is that makes your husband happy, make him have a day for himself so that he can feel good and get some type of emotional release. Tip number 3, during this time, you cannot rely solely on your husband for your own emotional support. What does that mean? Does that mean that you can't talk to your husband about things that you're feeling and your stresses and things that are bringing you down? Absolutely not. You can. You should talk to your husband. He should know everything that you're feeling and going through. However, he cannot be the only person that you rely on to talk about these things, because unfortunately, he's not going to be able to really be there emotionally for you. You're going to get frustrated. So reach out to a friend, your mom, a cousin, whoever you need to, that's going to be able to listen to you and give you some emotional support. That way you don't get down on your husband for not really being there for you the way that you want him to be. Number 4, maybe it's time for a change. If your husband is depressed because he hates his job, can't stand his situation, then maybe it is time for a change. In my husband's case, we were going through school. I knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel, so I can just be his cheerleader and be supportive because I knew that there was an end to all of this madness. But if you're in a situation where it doesn't appear to be an end and your husband's just depressed and down, maybe it's time for a change and maybe you need to encourage that. Numero 5, plan fun things, you guys. Don't just go to Chuck E. Cheese or go to a movie or dinner. Do things kind of outside of the box. We were living in Memphis and we would go downtown all the time. We would see all the like historical things. We would go to museums. We would ride the trolleys. We would do things kind of like what the tourists do, but a lot of times we don't do those touristy things in our cities because we grew up there and we kind of take it for granted. Those are the kind of things you need to do to really have fun outings. Number 6, date nights. Are you having your date nights? You must have that alone time with your husband, which that's going to be one of my next videos, is date ideas. But you have to have that time for your husband to have that alone time with you, because you know that the kids, it can be stressful for him, for you, and it's a different dynamic in the relationship. So make sure you're having your date nights. And last but not least, number 7, you are not your husband's therapist. You guys, we can be there for our husbands, we can be supportive, but if you see, just like in the question, that what you're doing is not having an effect, then maybe your husband does need to go talk to a therapist and get outside help, because it's not worth it for you to bring yourself down and for you to be depressed because he's depressed when you're never going to be able to give him the answer to the problems because you don't know how to help him. So maybe it's time that he seeks outside help. And the way that you can be supportive and encouraging is encourage him to go to his appointments, give him a ride, whatever he needs to support him through that, but you're not his therapist. So if you see that what you're doing is not working, then it's time to consider some outside help. Okay, you guys, I hope that you got a little something out of this, how to support your husband through a hard time. Leave your questions below, anything having to do with relationships, marriage, and maybe you'll see your question answered on next week's video. I'll see you. Bye.
I believe that it would have saved me so much grief and time upon my knees. It takes more than